Good morning, everybody. It's another beautiful day here in western Wisconsin, and today I'm going to be flying the Caravan. I'm going to be dropping some skydivers all day here. Normally, being the chief pilot and owner, I don't have to fly very often. I mostly get to skydive and stand around and tell people what to do. But the pilot we have coming up to be our full-time pilot this year hasn't quite got enough training in Houston, where he's based, where the place we lease the airplane from, and he wants to stay a little bit longer there to get some more training, which I fully agree, because flying here in Baldwin, Wisconsin is a blast, and our runway is this beautiful grass runway you see behind me here. But it is a challenging runway to land at because it's only 2,500 feet long, which is intimidating enough. But to make things even more challenging, it's got raised train tracks on the north end, and on the south end it's got a thin line of trees, a great big dirt pile, and then some pretty tall power lines, which make taking off and especially landing here a bit of a challenge. I personally love flying here because it keeps you on your game. You have to be very precise in your landings. You can't be too high, you can't be too fast. Otherwise, you might not get stopped before you hit the obstacle on either end, depending on which way you're landing. So the pilot who's going to be our full-time guy is going to stay down in Houston for a little bit longer, get some more training, get really up to speed on his short field landings. They've actually got a couple of cones set out at their airport to simulate our runway, so he'll be really good at his short field landings, which I approve of. But that essentially means I'm the pilot for pretty much all of April, which isn't the end of the world because I love flying the Caravan. I love flying jumpers here. The Caravan is a blast. This is a Cessna Grand Caravan with the 900 horsepower Garrett engine. It's a modification, and this thing is it's a rocket ship. It gets from surface to 14,000 feet in about 9 minutes sometimes if it's nice and cool out and light. Maybe 12 if we're heavy and it's hot, but that's fun enough. But the descent is what I really like. I mean, it comes down at 6,000 feet a minute. You're beating the skydivers to the ground. You're hanging in your seatbelt. It's just a ride. And then you come in here and do your aircraft carrier landing. You know, you got to be precise. Doing a rep every 12 to 15 minutes and do it all day long. Up and down, no straight and level. Just fun flying. So that's what we're going to do today. Looks like the first load is getting ready to go. So let's go do it. All right, so we can get ready to go. We're plugged into our start cart. We always use a start cart whenever we can. Gives us faster, colder starts, plus it saves the ship's batteries. They're really expensive, and multiple starts throughout the season really wear a battery down. So your fuel boost on, fuel valve on run, all the switches, everything good, our battery's on. Yeah! Looks good.
Gary, can we get a look at the DZ on your side?
Roger that. Clear. Hey, we got fuel flow, ignition's on.
Check it out, man. So there's going to be a signal on the right side. Yep.
Keep an eye on our EGT and RPMs and the torque. Making sure the EGT doesn't rise too hot, signifying a hot start. We also note what the peak EGT of every start is, just to kind of keep the trend analysis going. So the RPMs hit 60.
2432, contact tower 126.7. Good evening.
Okay, so here we are on the first load of this beautiful Saturday, and it's going to be a challenge one. I'm the one who picks where to jump them, where to drop the jumpers, and it's all based on the winds law forecast. And we've got some pretty strong winds out of the northwest up high, and then strong winds out of the southwest down low. And so I've got to figure out exactly where to put them, how far away from the drop zone, so they essentially land and drift back to the drop zone. I mean, yes, they all use square parachutes, ram air parachutes that give them some drive, and you can steer them and kind of figure out where you're going to go, but they can only do so much against the wind. So first load of the day is what we call the wind dummy load. If I make a mistake, I'll still make it back to the airport because I've got an engine, but they'll be kind of screwed. So, and seeing my son Connor's on this load, I've an extra added incentive to make sure they make it back to the drop zone. Guess we'll see.
Roger, and there is no observed traffic within 12 to 15 miles of the field. There's nothing else.
Got him on, thanks. Okay, we're all cleared to drop. Going to be a little offset of my course of I picked 250. And I'm going to offset it just a little bit to the south, kind of fudge it a bit. We'll see how that works. 70. Our ground speed is 65 knots now. I told him 70, close enough. I'm about 0.8 miles away from the drop zone. And we'll see how they do.
Delta 1208, descend to maintain 4.
Good luck, everybody. Okay, jumpers are away. I'm descending at about 6,000 feet a minute, doing only 125 indicated. That's the cool thing about this Caravan. You come down really fast because you bring the blades into flat pitch, which are a ton of drag, which make it really nice. Come down fast, you're not overspeeding the plane.
One radar radar service terminated, frequency change approved. Then we'll talk to you on the way back up.
Got it, one. And now what I do is I look at the Skydivers. I can see them in the air there and see how they're doing, which way they're pointed, if they're having a hard time making it back, or if they're spinning around, that means they like their spot. They've got some, shit, I'm going the wrong way. Looks like I gave them a good spot. They all are pointed various directions, spinning around, making it work. So, set up for land. I always have kind of a steep approach here with this plane. First of all, you got to clear the obstacles, but you also got to keep your speed up. Am I turning? Well, right now it looks like it was a good spot. Everybody's landing back on the drop zone, which is nice. I don't get to hear that whining sound. I didn't like the spot. I landed 3 miles away in the buffalo farm. But the wind's picking up today. It's going to be a windy one. Got another load of jumpers walking out to the area and go up and do it all over again. So I'm on load 4 today. So far, only one skydiver's landed off the drop zone, and I think that's because he was dumb. So in other words, it's not my fault. I've kind of got it figured out. You know, it took me a couple loads to get the perfect spot for everybody. They're all kind of making it back, but you know, when you're flying skydivers, you got to take into account the upper winds, even for where you're setting yourself up. Like today, the wind's at 13,000 feet. AGL. Skydivers don't care where the beach is. The winds at 13,000 feet are at 300 at 40. So that means when I'm flying my pattern, the setup on my jump run, I can't go too far because when I turn into the wind, it's really slows me down. And if I go too far downwind, then I've got a long, slow slog back. And the goal of a jump pilot, just like a ferry pilot, is to be efficient. I want to do a rectangular pattern, come right over the drop zone and exactly the heading I want, exactly the altitude I want, with the minimum amount of turning and wasted time, because time is money in an airplane. So I don't want to go too far downwind, but I kind of got it figured out today so far. Conditions are always changing though, so I have to keep an eye on the skydivers. When the ground winds pick up, I have to take them further upwind so they're not struggling too bad. And for each load, it's different. Like the last load I flew, I had 18 skydivers on board, so I'm climbing slower so I could go further downwind. On this load, I have 2 tandem, 2 fun jumpers, so there's really only six people on the plane, so I'm climbing very fast. And while I've been talking to you, I've screwed up. I just realized I went way too far downwind. I'm climbing like crazy. I only have a couple thousand feet to go, and I'm 6 miles from the drop zone. So now, to compensate for that, for my mistake, I increased my airspeed.
Delta 430, turn left direct wash.
So I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of climb rate for that, but not too much. As long as I correct my air far enough away, it won't result in too terribly much wasted time. But I got distracted talking to you guys, so again, it wasn't my fault. Okay, that was my fault. Yeah, it can be challenging in the Caravan because it climbs.
Well, there will be a Saratoga VFR traffic currently about 7 northwest of the airport en route eastbound to Maname 3500 there talking to us, and they'll remain about 5 north.
Skydivers, Roger, welcome to traffic.
So that's the other thing that we have to worry about when we're dropping skydivers is airplanes. It's really hard on the skydivers when they go through the wing of an airplane, scratches up the lenses and stuff.
Cleared visual, what's your left?
So we really want to avoid that. I've got approach just told me there's traffic northwest of me, southwest bound, but it's going to stay north of my track. So, and they're talking to him, so that's good. He'll stay out of my way. But there have been a lot of close calls over the years. So far as I know, only one skydiver has actually hit an airplane. He broke a leg. The people in the plane died. He took the horizontal stabilizer off. But I've been close a couple of times, once really close to an arrow, probably 300 feet in free fall. So even though we're talking to approach every single time, that doesn't mean they're always doing the correct math, because when we jump out at 13,000 feet, the plane that a skydiver might hit is up to 5 miles away. So to a normal controller who doesn't deal with skydivers a lot, that looks like plenty of room. But they can make up that time in a hurry.
All the manifest, jumpers away in 2 minutes.
So I give a call to manifest so they know that the jumper's coming out quick. And then I'll call approach and tell them the same thing.
Approach, Skydive 1 minute. Attention all aircraft, Skydive in progress, approximately 1 minute, 15,000 and below in the vicinity of the Baldwin, Wisconsin airport. Skydive 3711, Minneapolis approach, runway 12 right.
65! I just told them that the ground speed is 65. 65! The slower the ground speed, the more gap they need to get in between each jumper so the jumpers don't hit each other in free fall.
Trick wash, Delta 21. Delta 2067, fly present heading, descend and maintain 6,000.
I got a little rear view mirror here so I can see what's going on. One left. As soon as they're gone, it's flaps up, idle, nose it over, dive at the ground. Ready, set, go, they're gone. Down we go.
Yeah, the 16, 15 right now, need to keep you on the left side.
Yeah, nose over to 125.
Request at the final controller and they'll switch.
Trim it out a bit.
Last minute there. All right, that's no worries. I appreciate you, John.
And I got a little Van Halen jamming. Gotta have music. Now we're coming through 9,000 feet. Jumpers are not a problem for approach anymore.
Approach, Skydive 1, jumpers no faster. Skydive 1, roger, change advisory frequency approved. Skydive 1. Field side, Delta 1221. Delta 1221.
Now if you look here, I'm coming through 4,500. I'm only 1 mile from the end of the runway, so you're thinking, man, you're way too high, way too fast. Now just watch.
57, turn right.
As soon as I lift the nose, my speed will just disappear. Go to full flaps. Still doing 110. Clear the tree.
2695, Delta 1615, let's see.
And watch him try to ever eat it in front of me. All right, there you have it. Full day of flying jumpers in the Supervan. Love flying that plane. It's a blast. It climbs fast, descends fast. And it's a full day of stick and rudder flying. Just no straight and level, no autopilot, just pure flying. And I love that. Did something like 21 loads today, so I'm good and current now. But I gotta admit, I can't wait for the new pilot to show up because I also want to jump out. I want to get my knees in the breeze, so hopefully he comes soon, get them all checked out, and I can do that whole jump out of airplanes thing. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching the video. As always, do that whole like and subscribe thing, and till then, don't forget to keep your speed up.